If you've got chickens, like we do, then you'll probably already know the amount of eggs they lay will vary throughout the year. And if, like us, you don't want to be buying eggs in the winter, it means that this time of year, you're probably going to be dealing with gluts because you're going to have more than you need. All these girls keep us in eggs all year round, and they also provide us with a surplus that we get to sell at our little egg shop at the side of the road. In springtime, like it is now, despite the fact I'm wearing a woolly hat, we get even more eggs than we can eat and sell, or at least more eggs than we can eat and sell without thinking about it and maybe changing our habits a little bit. This is our eggs just from one of our flocks. We've got 2 big laying flocks like this. There's about 30 girls in here. We've got 23 eggs from these girls, and we've got another trailer to go and collect from yet. So I would say on average at this time of year, we're getting about 40 to 45 eggs a day, every single day. So you have to come up with creative ways of using them. Now, we're a family of 5, so, you know, we can easily in one meal, if we have an egg heavy meal, we can easily get through 15 eggs in a meal, maybe 20, depending on what mood we're in. It's not unheard of for me to have 7 eggs with some chips and sausages and beans and that kind of thing. But not everyone is able to get through as many eggs as me. You soon work out that there's lots of different things you can do with eggs to use them up. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Hello, girls. As soon as I've collected from these guys. So the first thing that I want to just say and get out the way, because I'm sure it's not why many of you are here watching, but you know, the first thing is just to make sure that you're eating plenty in your meals. Breakfast is a great way of using up eggs. Now, if I have time in the morning to make my family breakfast, and they will always jump at the chance, if I do, to have just eggs on sourdough toast. There's 5 of us in our family, so 2 eggs on toast each. That's 10 eggs gone. Boom, done. Now, of course, we all know, you know, if you're looking for ways to use up gluts, it can be quite frustrating to hear someone say eat them. That I'm going to get into lots of other ways, but I think the first thing is just to make sure that we're planning our meals and working with our produce in such a way that we are going to be using up as much of it as possible while it's fresh and delicious and, you know, in its most simple form. Just like we vary the seasonality of what we eat with our vegetables, depending on what's growing in the time of year, we're also going to alter our diet ever so slightly with regards to the number of eggs we eat. In fact, there are periods in the winter where we barely keep up with demand with what we're selling at the side of the road, and we can go days or weeks without eating an egg sometimes because we just don't have enough. And equally, you know, the other side of that coin is when we're producing lots, we're going to be eating lots. So there's lots of different ways you can incorporate them really simply into meals that maybe you hadn't thought about. So one of those ways is egg fried rice. If you're having rice with your dinner, make egg fried rice instead. And that way you get to squeeze some extra eggs into your diet. You know, having meals throughout the week that are based around eggs, whether it's something simple like egg and chips or whether it's an omelette, these are all ways that you can incorporate eggs in your diet. But beyond that, let's say we've already done all those things and we've still got far too many eggs and we don't know what to do with them. There are some other really easy ways that we can deal with them. Okay, so outside of eating eggs as just main part of your meal, what other options have you got? Well, you might be surprised. You've actually got quite a few. So these are just some of the eggs we've got in our kitchen at the moment. These are the ones that we're to use up as soon as possible. And then we've got all of these guys over here as well. Now, obviously, a lot of these will make their way out to our egg shop, but we are in the process at the moment of using up quite a few, as many as we can. Now, if you've got chickens, you might well be rearing chicks. Well, if you are, let me show you something. Let's have a look under here. So these guys have a diet made up of predominantly chick crumbs if you don't have many eggs. But if you do, just mashed up boiled egg makes up probably 50% of these guys' diet. Mix that with some bread and then chick crumbs, and you're going to save yourself money on the feed for the chicks, but you're also going to be able to use up some of your egg glut. But if you haven't got chicks, we can still find ways we can use it in the kitchen. So I'm about to make some batter, and my batter is going to use up 10 eggs. It's a really simple recipe. Couldn't be simpler, actually. It's just 1/3 eggs, 1/3 flour, 1/3 milk. Simple. What can we do with it? You might be surprised. So that's 10 eggs to make that batter. What a great way of using them up. What are you going to use that batter for, you might ask? Well, you'd be surprised. This will do pancakes for breakfast. You could easily use it to coat things in and then fry them, like mushrooms or whatever you might fancy. You can also make something called Yorkshire Puddings. If you're not from the UK, you should Google that. It's a great one to have with your roast beef. But there's no chance that this is going to last till our weekend roast dinner in this house, because that will be used for breakfast pancakes over the next 2 or 3 days. So I'll pop it in the fridge. But you could also put it in the freezer. Once you've made that batter, it freezes really well. So it's another way to use up your eggs, but also to preserve them and use them for later in the year when perhaps you don't have that much production and you're not having an egg glut. Because when you're having an egg glut, one of the things you're trying to do is manage it so that you can actually have those egg products later in the year when you're not. So speaking of freezing, you can also just freeze the eggs. This is 10 eggs that I've just taken out of our freezer that we've had in there for the last couple of weeks. And again, we'll be able to use this in the winter when perhaps our girls aren't laying very many and we're only just meeting demand at the side of the road for what we're selling. We'll be able to use these for any kind of recipe that calls for eggs, or even for, you know, scrambled eggs or whatever. I'm not sure that they'd poach particularly well, and they might not fry particularly well insofar as having individual eggs. I'm not sure. We've only ever used them as sort of scrambled eggs or in recipes for cakes and things like that. But you can certainly freeze them. And if you're going to freeze them, you can also choose to divide them and separate the whites from the yellows and freeze them that way as well. Next up, pickled eggs, pickled in vinegar. Hard-boiled eggs pickled in vinegar. These guys are amazing. They'll keep for pretty much ever, and they taste great. So they're great with salads, or some people like them in a packet of crisps or a packet of potato chips if you're in the US. So pickled eggs are a great way to preserve your produce. They also, if you've got a little egg shop at the side of the road where you're selling eggs, we would sell these for about £5. So we would sell these for 4 times the cost of 6 eggs. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 eggs in there. And we're going to sell them for 4 times the cost of 6 eggs. So they're actually a really good way of using up your eggs. Not only if you want to sell them, but also they make good gifts. You can use all kinds of capers and pepper and dill and all sorts of flavourings in your vinegar if you like. We like them plain, which is why these guys are plain. These will be what we eat. But again, it's another way of preserving your eggs for use later in the year. Now finally, and this is one I'm excited to share with you, you can actually salt cure egg yolks and preserve them that way. And what you get is this amazing sort of texture of cheese, if you like, egg yolk that you can actually grate onto things. Let me show you how it's done. So obviously the first thing you've got to do is separate your egg yolks, and then you just get a generous amount of salt. So we'll do these 3. We'll cover them in salt. Pop them in the fridge, and in a few days we'll have amazing salt preserved egg yolks. Now, If you want to see the results of this, then you'll have to make sure you're subscribed to my channel, because I haven't done this in a little while, so I don't have any to show you. But I will be showing these, obviously, on my channel when they're ready. So we're going to make sure those are completely covered in that salt. And then we're just going to sit them in the fridge for a week. After that, you just dry them out. There's loads of recipes online for salt cured egg yolks you can check out, but it's really simple. And then when they're done, they make this amazing topping for things like pasta, linguine dishes with creamy sauce. Oh, amazing. But they'll also be preserved, and they can be preserved for quite some time that way if you do it properly. So there you go. We're also going to obviously use up the egg white. We're going to freeze this for now, but it's great for making things like meringues. That's 5 different ways to use up an egg glut. Number 1, just think of meal ideas and eat more eggs throughout your daily eating routine. Number 2, use them as chick feed. Number 3 is freeze them. Again, freeze either separated into whites and yolks or as they are, complete. Number 4, pickle them. Who doesn't love a pickled egg? And number 5, salt curing. All amazing ways to use up your egg glut and preserve your eggs for use when you don't have an egg glut, which is at least as important as them not going to waste. So as always guys, if you've enjoyed this video, please do press like. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know, is there anything I've missed? Have you got some ways of using up? Oh my goodness, I've just remembered it was 6 ways, wasn't it? Not 5, 6, because we've also got batter, making batter, which again can be frozen. So that's 6 ways to use up your eggs. Anyway, if there's anything I've forgotten that you're doing that I'm not, please let me know in the comments down below. Let me know if you try some of these. Let me know how they go for you. And if you want to see how my salt cured egg yolks turn out, you'll have to subscribe, so make sure you do that now. And in future videos, in the next 2 weeks, I'll show you the whole process spread out over some of my vlogs. Thanks for watching guys, speak to you soon, cheers.